What's going on, everybody? It's Fearless here, and today we're going to be making a crazy hyperpop virtual beat for Ty Fontaine. So if you guys are ready, let's jump right into this. Alright, full disclosure guys, this beat is already pre-made and we're going to be breaking it down. But, hold on. There's a very important reason for doing this, guys. When I'm cooking up beats in front of the camera, it's very hard to get in my creative zone and come up with all these different ideas and really put a masterpiece together for you guys. So this is going to allow me to show you guys new techniques and processes that I'm using in 2022 that I suggest you start using as well, because it's only going to level up your beats. So this is going to be an extremely valuable video, and it's going to be a 2-for-1 because we're going to break down how I made the beat, and you're going to see all these new techniques and processes that I'm using that make the beat just absolutely slap. Plus, there's a breakdown in this one as well. So without any further ado, let's jump right into this project. Alright guys, so let's start breaking down these drums. First, let's go ahead and get the melodies together and we'll take a look at the 808 that we're using. Okay, so super simple 808 pattern here, and what I want you to notice is that the 808 is actually shorter. It's not fully going through, so it's going to stop the 808 shorter than it normally would play out to be. And I'm doing that on purpose, so let's take a listen to this. So as you can see, we're doing a couple glides here, one right here towards the end of that 4 bars and one at the end of this 4 bars as well. Nothing else crazy going on. Okay, we got the kick just following it right here. We obviously have them all on C. Alright, we got our snare in here. Alright, we got the open hat just playing on the first. Alright, and the last main drum here that we have is the hi-hat pattern. Okay, so the first technique that I want to talk about is instead of just copying that over for the next set of 8 bars, I changed the 808 pattern up very slightly. So let's take a look at the 808 pattern. So some things that I did in here that are different is I put little accent notes here and right here. Just instead of leaving it blank, it's going to give it a little bit of an accent. Let's check it out. So those little accent notes just make it sound really cool, and it just happened to work for this 808 in particular. And what I did for the second half of the drop is I changed up the 808 quite a bit this time. So instead of leaving those short notes like we did purposely before, now we're actually lengthening them out so that they're playing all the time. It's going to give it a different feel and a different vibe. And again, I did very small changes to the next set as well. You notice that we're changing up the 808 all the time because that's the most important thing besides the melodies in this beat. So let's take a look at that as well. So you can see here we're starting on a glide, but we're starting an octave higher and going down. And then we changed up small things like that. I believe we're doing a glide here as well. And let's listen to this really quick. And another thing that we're doing, guys, that you should start doing if you're not already doing, is putting a crash right when the beat drops. So you can see I have a crash MIDI right here, and I'm just playing it, but I'm not doing it for every set of 8 bars. I'm doing it every 16. But you could do this every 8 bars if you'd like, but it's going to give it a lot more impact when it actually drops. So what I also do here is I have these uppers where it's just a riser, and it goes into the drop where then this crash is playing. So let's listen to how it goes together because it makes the impact of the drop so much greater. Another thing that I'm doing to introduce the second part of the drop right here is I'm actually using a little drum roll that I found. And that's going to make it more exciting when that second part comes in. It's almost like it's changing up. You're expecting it to be a little bit different. So let's check this out really quick. Alright, and guys, this is going to be a huge tip for you, especially when you're doing these virtual kind of beats. So obviously the melodies are insanely loud for these type of beats. I mean, let's be honest here. The melodies are usually too loud, and you got to crank it way down and crank the drums way up. But one thing is that if you really want your kick and snare to shine through, why not just go ahead and do some sidechaining on the melodies? So what we're doing here is we're using a glue compressor with the sidechain turned on, one of them for the kick and one of them for the snare, and that's just, it's not doing anything too drastic, but it's doing just enough to where it ducks it a little bit so that that snare and that kick can bust through them super loud melodies. I can't stress this enough. So let's take a quick listen to it before and after so you can hear the difference. Okay, this is without them. And this is with them on. So hopefully you're listening in headphones or you got some nice monitors that you can hear that out of, because it really does make a big difference and it lets those things shine through those loud melodies. Alright, so now let's talk about the breakdown like I mentioned at the beginning, and there's about to be a lot of sauce poured for this one. So, for this breakdown, what I usually do when I'm going to make a breakdown for my beats is I throw a halftime on the master to see how it's going to sound when everything's kind of slowed down and half-timed, right? But when you do that, certain things are going to sound off, they might not sound as good as you want it to, and you might want to add like notes here or there, and you can't really do that when you halftime because then you're trying to add notes but you're halving the time, so it's like it's all weird and it gets messed up and combobulated. So what I do is I use the halftime to make sure it's going to sound okay and make sure I want to use that in this beat, and then I actually copy the pattern, but I put everything down an octave and I get rid of the notes that shouldn't be there. So I'll literally put the halftime on the master, then I'll listen to the kick, for example, and you're only going to hear certain notes play. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the notes that aren't playing, right? Right? You see how that's working? So you get rid of the notes that aren't playing when the halftime effect is on, so that when you take the halftime effect off, those notes are gone and it's only playing the ones that would play with the halftime on. I hope that makes sense. And then I'm going to drop them down an octave. Alright, so let's take a quick listen to what this sounds like. Tell that everything is definitely slowed down, and you also probably hear a crazy texture in the background. That's another little thing we're going to talk about in just a second. I want to share with you guys. It's awesome. So yeah, so what we did is we took these, we dropped them down an octave. We obviously got rid of a lot of notes. There's the kick. Here's the 808. Nothing too crazy going on here. For the snare, we dropped it down. We pretty much kept the snare in here all the way. But you know, there was definitely notes in here that weren't playing. Like for the kick, you'll notice that some of these don't line up directly with the 808. Like this is an extra note right here that came in. I believe there's some other ones in here as well, but it just adds to it. And when you do it this way, you can put those extra notes in it that halftime's not necessarily going to play. So that's exactly why you want to do it like this. Now for the melody, I kept the halftime on because the melody I'm not going to be changing up. A, I don't want to change it, and B, this is already flattened out. This is already a pre-made melody, so we're not going to do that there. So we left it on the melody, but everything else we did by hand. We did the snare. We did the hi-hats. As you can see, the hi-hat is a lot different than our normal hi-hat. There's the normal one. So you can see I did this for all of them. And yeah, again, we put it down an octave. All right, now let's talk about that vinyl texture I have in the background, because this thing really transformed the way that this sounds. So I took a piece of vinyl right here, which is just a regular vinyl. Let me go ahead and actually find it. So that's what it sounded like regularly. And then I went ahead and actually put some RC20 on it to just add a little more vinyl texture to it, just to make it a little wider and a little more wobbly. It sounded really cool. I also put the drum bus on this as well. I put the drum bus on it so I could kind of boost the crunch, bring out some more of the lows that were in it, and just change how the transient sounded in it altogether. So listen to it before and after. Here's before the drum bus. And this is with the drum bus on. Can hear that it just boosted the hell out of it, made it sound way different. It actually gave it more highs and it boosted the lows just a little bit. So it sounds absolutely insane right now, but that's because we go ahead and also sidechain it with the kick and snare. And we do this aggressively. We do an aggressive sidechain so that it's not interfering with that at all. You can hear that it completely dodges it when it does that. But that is going to allow it to play nice and loudly in the background, give it that nice texture while allowing the main things to hit through, the kick, the snare, to punch through there. And one last thing I want to show you guys really quick is right before this drops, I'm doing a little craziness here. So what I did is I actually chopped up the melody here, and I multiplied it a bunch of times, so it's gonna go dung 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 dung. Holy smokes, guys, I swear to God, we just went over so many techniques and different tricks that you can start using in your beats to just instantly level them up and make them so much better. This was literally a 2-for-1 video. We got to break down this amazing beat and show you guys all the little tricks that I did in the background to just make it stand out ever more. So start applying these to your beats and it's gonna be insane. By the way, guys, if you want this 808, just don't tell anybody, but you can get it in my Discord. Yeah, it's a really cool 808 with that grimy sound to it. Sounds super distorted and super bit crushed. If you like how that sounded, you can get it in the Discord. Link is in the description. And besides that, guys, that's gonna wrap it up. But there is one thing that we haven't talked about yet. We haven't talked about how to make melodies, virtual sounding melodies. So if you're interested and you wanna know how to make your own virtual melodies really easily, trust me, it's a super easy process. You just gotta follow these couple steps. Go ahead and check out this video right here. It's gonna show you my process for making virtual and hyper pop melodies perfect every single time. So check that one out, guys, and we'll be catching you again in the next one. Peace out.